We return now to the very tragic story of a woman killed by a sheriff's deputy after she called 911 asking for help. Now, the body cam footage, we showed it to you earlier, shows the encounter between 36-year-old Sonia Massey and Deputy Sean Grayson in Springfield, Illinois. The mother of two had called 911 to report a suspected prowler outside her home earlier this month. Grayson has pleaded not guilty to first-degree murder. Joining us now is Sonia's father. His name is James Wilburn, along with civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump, who is representing the family. Good morning to you both. I want to start with you, Mr. Wilburn, because this video that we saw earlier was heartbreaking to those of us who didn't even know Sonia. I cannot imagine what it is like for you to have known your daughter the way that you did. And I know when these stories happen, it's just another story in the news. But for you, I always say, the victim was somebody's everything. So before we get into the details of the case, please tell us what she was like and what you're missing most about her. Who was she?
She was one of my 4 daughters. I don't think that looking at that tape with my old heart from before 2022, I had quadruple heart bypass surgery, and I suffer from congestive heart failure. But I don't think my old heart could have taken this.
You know, I'm hearing that you were told conflicting stories. What were you told, the circumstances of this shooting?
Well, I was never told that it was a deputy-involved shooting. We were under the impression that she was killed by the intruder or some other person from the street or something, and they just went in there and found her dead body. I did not find out that the deputies killed her until my brother asked for Sonia's address, and I gave it to him. And he said, "Brother, this says deputies involved." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" But we were all misled to believe that. And then there was a story that this was self-inflicted, a self-inflicted gunshot.
Oh, my goodness.
So I think the cover-up started from just right after it happened. And thank God for the body camera footage. It's probably the most horrible and heart-wrenching thing that we've ever seen in our lives. But if it were not for the body cam footage, we would not have known that this occurred.
Yes, I say thank goodness, too, for that body cam footage, because we in the video, it clearly shows she was not approaching him with steaming hot water, number one, which is what he said at the beginning. When he was asked about the gun, clearly there was no gun. She had said to the officer, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," which seemed to set him off. What do you think she meant? What does that mean? What was going on that you think that she would say those words to him?
I think that she feared for her life. There was some premonition that she had. And it seems like he was just an emissary of Satan. And that's what caused him to do what he did. It's just unexplainable.
Yeah.
Attorney Crump, it's Vlad here. I want to ask you about the reports that Officer Grayson was now working at his 6th police department in just under 4 years. What have you learned about that? And to the point that Mr. Wilburn is making and that Gail was just talking about, what does it say to you that the first thing that we hear Officer Grayson say after he has killed Sonia is, "She was coming at me with boiling water"?
You know, it's just no justification, no matter what he tries to say. We see this video with our own eyes. And Vlad, this is one of the worst videos of a police shooting ever. I mean, he did not have to shoot her. And you see him, even though he's trying to say he wasn't gonna have this boiling water get to him, he actually walks around the counter and engages to get a better shot. And that's what the state attorney's investigation found, that he actually engaged her. He could have done so many things to not shoot her in the face. He could have backed up. He could have used taser. I mean, it was the size difference. Vlad and Gail, he's over two times as big as her. She's 5'1", 110 pounds. He's like 6'5", 260 pounds. It's just senseless and god-awful.
Mr. Crump, it's Tony Dokoupil. We've talked to you on numerous occasions in cases like this. There have been others as well, and yet you're right, this is a particularly shocking video. What do you think the larger issue is? Why do we keep having these conversations? Why do we keep seeing these videos?
We certainly think it's the implicit bias that permeates in American society now. And when we think about what's going on with the presidential politics in 2020, it was the George Floyd torture video that galvanized people in our community to act. In 2024, I believe it's going to be the Sonia Massey shooting video that galvanizes people in our community to act because, as Mr. James said, this so-called police officer should have never been on the sheriff's force. He had 2 DUIs, and he had went from multiple police departments, like Vlad said, and that is a question. Why was he even on the force? We agree with the judge at the bond hearing. He is a threat to public safety.
Ben, there are so many questions here. Looking at this video, I'm telling you, this one hit different for a lot of people. None of them are good, but this one in particular hit different because she clearly, from what we could see, hadn't done anything to harm this officer or threaten this officer. Mr. Wilburn, I know that your daughter was 36 years old, had 2 children. How old are your grandchildren, and how are they processing this?
My oldest is Malachi, he's 17, and Summer, Jeanette, she's 15. And we're taking it day to day. They're having a very hard time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They're doing as best they can.
That was a mama. I mean,
yeah.
She needed a helping hand. She didn't need a bullet to the face, Gail.
Yeah, it is astounding to know that she had called for help and then she ends up the victim in her own home. I still don't understand that. This will never make sense to me.
No humanity. When the partner tries to help, he says, no, it's a headshot. You don't need that. And with the blood gushing out of her face, he goes out and tells the other officers on the scene, he calls her a derogatory name for a woman and says she was crazy. I mean, where is the humanity?
Yeah, I know. That is always a question in many of these shootings. Mr. Wilburn, we are so sorry that you were talking to us today about this particular story, but we do appreciate you taking the time to do so. People need to hear this story. Ben Crump, thank you. Thank you both.